Welcome back to Bite Size Magic, guys. Boros Wayne here. Doing a quick little intro for this one. As some of you guys know, we've got the Invitational coming up in about a week from when this goes out. So there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of excitement, and Vafnar reached out to me with this idea that he had about following the stories of some of the indie players this year, because he thought there were some interesting stories to be told outside of just tournament results and ELO and ranking and stuff like that. Originally, I was going to be one of the people that he was interviewing, so we decided, hey, screw it, let's just turn it into a podcast and also give you guys a chance to kind of see what some of the other stories are going to be. So if you're interested, to go check those out. I think with cEDH, you can get a little bit wrapped up with the who's winning what and whose stats are where and the numbers of the competition. I also think there's some really interesting stories to be had when we're just talking about just the people that are involved. So yeah, that's what this episode is going to be about. I hope you guys find it interesting. I'll see, hopefully, some of you guys at Breach the Bay.
Welcome back to Bite Size MTG. We have a special treat for you today. Coming up soon, we have the Invi, and Wayne here is going to be participating in it. And so what I am doing over on AdNods is I'm interviewing a bunch of players that are in the Invi, and I was talking with Wayne, and we figured, why don't we just do this one live? Yeah, cut the script and everything. Let's just, hey, how you doing, Wayne?
Doing good. It's a little surreal right now as it's coming up right now. When you were telling me about this whole concept, I thought it was really, really interesting here. First off, who the fuck are you?
Oh, yes, I am Vafnar. I write all over the internet, and hopefully I'll be writing a lot more stuff coming up here as we approach the Invi. I've been talking with various players who I think have really cool stories, especially compared to last year where we had, it felt like a lot of Blue Farm players just kind of showing up to a lot of events and then making the Invi. And now this year we have 10,000 people who've submitted across different Topdeck events and everything. And now there's a lot more interesting stories going on. And I want to highlight what those stories are and who those players are. And, you know, you made it on Zerda, and I thought that was super cool, especially compared to, like, Blue Farm and whatnot. Over on AdNods, I'm going to be talking with an Oswald pilot. I'm going to be talking with Atlas, the Kenrith pilot, who has a Kenrith list that nobody should play, apparently. And I got to talk with Matt Hayes, who has a Blue Farm list that doesn't play Thassa's Oracle. So it's going to be a lot more of the interesting kind of, or at least what I think is interesting and cool. And I thought, hey, player number 15 out of 10,000 just plays Zerda.
Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, I think the thing for me that I thought was really, really interesting for your end too is that you kind of pitched it as, we're not getting into, like, this isn't a deck tech. This isn't like, hey, how do these things... We actually have, I think, in the recordings, at least I saw on the way in, I think we have a TIAM deck tech upcoming. At least there's an hour-long recording of somebody talking to TIAM, so we'll see how that is. But the way that you pitched it to me was, hey, let's get into the stories, the people, the concepts, or even just like you're interviewing Matt Hayes, but that Blue Farm, like, compare, contrast, and the juxtaposition between him and Aaron's list is a really cool idea. And I think that we really want... I want to read these articles. I think this is cool stuff. You know what I mean? So we want to give a platform to that sort of thing.
So one thing that a lot of people talk about and that is mentioned in cEDH is, hey, more than deck choice, pilot skill matters more than anything. And you keep hearing people talk about the pilots behind the decks and the people that brew this. And I feel like that actually shining a spotlight and showing the people, you know, how do you play cEDH, but not mechanically speaking. Yes, you play Zerda, but how do you approach someone going, hey, are you going to win on your turn? You know, how do you approach those political questions? How do you politic yourself? And how do you approach playing against new players and experienced players? You know, how do you know what line to go for in your list beyond just goldfishing it 10 billion times?
Goldfishing 10 million times is pretty good. Like, that's good practice to a certain extent for sure, but then getting around with other people. But yeah, and also just like the journey and like the different types of people that are coming into the Invi. And I kind of imagine it as like all the different paths leading to Rome, you know what I mean? And shedding some spotlights onto some of these lesser traveled paths other than, like, I thought Blue Farm was the best deck, so I picked up Blue Farm or Kinnan and I just went to a bunch of tournaments and then that's it. You know what I mean? I got there, you know, and I'm a good pilot. And like getting into the weeds, I like the idea of it being, I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's about the gathering, it's about the people we meet along the way. So let's, at least it seems like the series of articles you're coming out with is we're putting a spotlight on the people for a hot second.
Yes.
You know?
And more than just a second, because I also want to say, like, there's a lot of, I don't know, like choices that have been made for certain metas. For example, one of the players that I talk with, Justin, he plays Oswald, and he plays exclusively in Portland. The same meta that brought us Bragishai, and the same meta that once upon a time birthed Twiddlestorm Sisay. If anyone watching remembers that deck, the Paradox Engine deck. You know, that's the meta that brings some weird brewer stuff. And he, without spoiling too much of the article, he basically said he never traveled. The only event that he traveled to was the Siege, which he showed up in top 4. And I want to like highlight all of these kind of players that across the country who are from Portland, these players on the East Coast, these Midwest people that have like their own really strange meta, according to Sam Black, as well as these people on the East Coast who have been practicing yapping at each other this whole time. And I think that bringing all of them together into one place and talking about the people behind the decks rather than just, hey, this guy brought Rogtrax, this guy brought Blue Farm, this guy brought Oswald. You know, isn't that interesting? What's more interesting to me is just, hey, who is X, Y, and Z? Who is Justin? Who is Wayne? Who is Matt? I want to bring forward those ideas and not just like, hey, this is a Blue Farm deck that plays X, Y, and Z cards, you know? What makes, if pilot skill really is everything, how did you get in the Envy? Especially playing a deck that traditionally should be bad.
Well, we'll give everybody a little bit of a sneak peek and a little teaser as to some of the things. If we want to pull up, do you want to share your screen? We can pull up the top deck leaderboards and we can see who's going to the Envies. And let's just see some of the names that you're talking to and that they can go read up about.
So this right here is the Topdeck Championship Series. You can see there are 10,000 people that are in this. And over here, you can see the order of them. We have our own Zach Adler here at number 6. And you're going to see a lot of people that have Banristic Study as their kind of name. I just kind of want to look past that for a second because, yes, it is kind of hard to tell who's who with all of the Banristic studies. But over in the articles, I got the chance to speak with Zeke Maxwell, who's on Team Monolith. You can see that in the brackets here, how he got there and made his Rogtrass list the default. I had the chance to speak with Matt Hayes, and look at that right there. Who is that, Wayne?
Yeah.
Mr. Banristic Study.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to be speaking with Aaron Joseph shortly here, comparing his traditional Blue Farm deck to Matt Hayes' Control Farm list. Further down the leaderboard, this is Justin, also named Banristic Study, and you can see his little profile picture playing Oswald. Further down, Atlas Coolish made it to the Invitational playing exclusively his version of Kenrith, which has been so complicated and so different from other win lines. He's on things like Ghostly Flicker for infinite mana, reanimate lines. It's super interesting in my opinion. I hope that you guys understand more about what he is doing here. Further down on the Envy leaderboard, now you'll notice the Envy is advertised as the top 64 players. In reality, it's been expanded to the top 80 players. So I'm also going to be speaking with some of the people further down here, like Jonathan Vick, who brought his own Manual Storm Rogthras list, which is secretly a Ral deck in disguise. So yeah, this is the players in the Envy. What the Clorox? Do you know who this is?
I have no idea. Sorry, whoever that is.
I need to
Clorox Mox.
I need to meet who Clorox Mox is. This totally caught me off guard.
That's so funny.
Clorox Mox.
But
yes.
For those of you guys, if you have any interest in hearing about any of those people or reading about any of those people, go check out the article, or ping Vaf and ask him about his opinions on all the rest of it. And just like show some love.
And again, if you're looking for deck techs or you're looking for specific things about those decks, I'm going to try not to highlight the specifics behind decks. And in a lot of the interviews with people, I'm not really talking about the decks themselves, but more so the practice, where these players are from, how they get games in, and, more about them as people, especially as people's lives affect the way that they pilot decks. Justin didn't travel to any events. He didn't really try a unique Yap game, and his Yap game revolved entirely around his commander. Contrast that to someone like Matt Hayes, who travels a lot for work. He travels a lot to events. And if you look at his page, he's on 100 different events around the country. Normally, his base is out in Hawaii. And how do you take a Hawaiian deck, one that has elements from the Japanese meta, as well as ones that have elements from the East Coast from him traveling? How does that affect your deck choices? How does that affect your, political style? So today, Wayne, shall we get into it?
All right, I'll stop. So yeah, okay, fine.
I'm excited is the thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to finally be able to sit down and talk to you about more than just Magic and more than just Zerta, because I feel in my bones, like, originally this was just going to be a written piece, but why don't you tell me, for events, where do you travel? Does the greater bite-sized community know who you are?
I mean, I was on the very first episode of Bite Size, which ironically I wasn't supposed to be, but I was filling in for somebody. So I've been here for a little bit. I think most people have a good idea. I'll do a quick overview, I guess. I'll put aside my innate Asian instinct to just deflect any and all compliments or whatever, and I'll
there's going to be a lot of fighting that.
I will try to be a little bit. I'll try to present myself a little bit. So for those of you guys who don't know, my name's Wayne. People know me as Boros Wayne or Wayne Blade of Boros because that's my Discord a lot of times. I have been playing exclusively Zerta, the Dawnwaker, in cEDH tournaments for about 2.5 years now. How do I make this as quick as possible? Greenie, anybody who knows Greenie,
I love Greenie.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's awesome.
She signed my Badgermal Cup at the Siege.
Yeah, she is. I have a 1/1 human white token from her that I am very glad I get to use now because I have a Queen of Dale in my deck now. But besides that, I saw one of Greenie's TikToks. I thought, hey, if she's doing Boros and cEDH, I might as well try that. It inspired me to get into it. And yeah, we've been doing explicitly nothing but that. I was playing nothing but Boros when I was in casual. I just really love the colors, concepts. I'm a big equipment person. And yeah, the last 2.5, however long, many years has essentially just been a very interesting, long-winded ups and downs, traveling and playing, and this path into cEDH that has led me into places I would have never thought I would have been. We might get more in detail as we go along. I do a lot of, obviously I'm the editor for Bite Size now. Zach's a really, really good friend of mine. We've been playing, we travel to like the mid-seasons together and stuff like that. I also am, weirdly enough, I never thought I would be, but I am also part of BFF cEDH, which is a TO organization down here in LA. Put on a couple of tournaments out here in LA. Some are coming up. If you are plug. If you're in the area, come to Atrium 2 or A2EM as I like to call it in November. That's going to be a big one for us. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. We're getting more into streaming now. Yeah, it's just been crazy, and we'll get more into it. There's ironically a lot of it is actually tied up with the NV, and we'll get into that later as that comes along. But that's overall. Oh, my pronouns are they, them?
Yeah, that's probably an important thing to say.
That's an important one. And yeah, I don't know. Is there any glaring things I'm omitting here?
I think that you've got it all covered. For those that don't know and understand that my qualifications are, I'm a sham. I'm not in the Invitational. I am not an amazingly winning player. I've been playing cEDH for a lot longer than you, I think.
Yes.
But I participate in a lot of events, and I do moderately well. How do you put up those, like, constant numbers?
All right. Fully, I think it's just a numbers game. Especially the first year when we're going for the MV, I was traveling constantly. I was traveling down to San Diego just to get bronzes on a twice-a-month basis with friends, you know what I mean? At a certain point, I really do think it's just a numbers game, and I was in a position where I was privileged enough that I could go to these things, and I could afford to try these things, and I could afford to take weekends off and stuff like that. So more to your point, when you're saying, it hurts my soul when you call yourself a sham, because I think you're a pretty decent pilot. And I also just want to encourage our cEDH community in general. I think a lot of people understand this to a certain extent, but just that, like, there's more to this community and more to the game itself than just putting up results. Obviously, that is one aspect of it. It is a competitive format, sure, but VAF is a voice that people, is a prolific brewer, has so many called shots under your belt, which we're going to turn into a whole bit later on another series. Yeah. So
to be clear, when I say that I'm not a good pilot, I'm not saying that I'm necessarily, like, deserving of being like in the Envy or anything like that. What I'm saying is like my focus has never really been on the Envy. My focus has always been something else in cEDH. I've never been the person that's going to be like, oh, I want to be the best in the world, because I feel like that cEDH is such a wide format and such an expansive format. You can see it in some of the other articles that I've written about my journey across the country, trying to see the connection that this format has that I feel like that the rest of Magic is lacking. Because when you're in a 1v1 format, it's very difficult to, you go there, you jam your games, that's it. Or when you go to a draft, you're so focused on like making a deck, you're so focused on what you're doing in front of you. cEDH pulls you back from that and it encourages you to socialize to do well. So I've tried to highlight all of the gathering part of Magic the Gathering. And what I want to do more than anything, if you're looking at anything that I've done before, please just look at how I've tried to gather. And that doesn't sound right. Please look at how I've tried to like make the community and tried to show the community for what it is. And this is what I want to do. I want to show you as part of the community. I want to show what Jonathan Vick is doing out in the middle of Texas. I want to show what Zeke is doing out in the middle of the Midwest.
But it's absolutely true. And that's the big reason why, one, we get along so well. And like, that's a big ethos part of BFF cEDH, at least to a large extent.
It's in the name.
Exactly, right? And to a little bit of a lesser extent, bite size, but we still really believe that in bite size, like 100%. It's just that the fact that it is a channel about getting better at cEDH kind of lends itself to the competition. But to answer the question, before we got completely sidetracked.
Yeah, of course, complete sidetrack there.
To answer the question, I did a lot of grinding about 2 years ago when I was trying to go for last season's Envy, and we actually, oh boy, we grind a lot, and I think the game is a lot about trial and error and learning from your mistakes and getting better and better and better. So I had a lot of hours in. I made a lot of mistakes, and you learn from your mistakes. That's the best way to learn. You know what I mean? Like the muscle memory. The season not this upcoming. How do I say this? Last Envy season, I actually managed to make it to just barely scraping in at around 46 on the leaderboard. It was a situation where I was really worried I was getting bubbled out. It was a whole thing. There was about 2 weeks worth of just full stress waiting. And then all my friends were telling me, you're fine, you're locked, stop stressing, it's fine, you'll be okay. And I finally started believing them the Saturday before we locked in. And then we were practicing for Invitationals. And then the Sunday before we got locked, I was sitting down, I was practicing. Ironically, if you want to ask somebody, ask Sylvie, because I think she watched the soul leave my body as I started reading Discord messages about apparently there were some points problems, and basically, long story short, a bunch of my points got taken away from me because of administrative stuff from other TO stuff that was going on. And I went from 46 on the leaderboard to like 100th the day before we locked in for the last season of Invitationals. And I fully just was not the most traumatizing thing I've had happen to me, but a pretty traumatizing thing, because I put a lot of effort into this last season. Yeah, and that really sucked. That really sucked for a really long time. Yeah, no, that was rough. I bring all of that up to answer the question in that it was a lot of practice. It was a lot of these things. And the irony is, this year, I was supposed to not worry about the Invitational.
Yeah, all year you've been saying, I don't care. I
was trying really hard. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to focus on... I was trying to get points so badly that year that I started learning how to TO so I could make bronze events for us to have a chance to get points. Because in LA, there wasn't really a scene way back when, right? So I got into TO out of necessity for myself to be able to get points. And just because if there was no playground, I'm like, screw it, I will build it myself. I will make this happen to try to make it, if I don't have opportunity, I will make opportunity for myself. And I was fully focused on making the Invitationals. And then after all of that happened, I had to look into myself and go, all right, you know what I'm going to do is next season, and the stats have bear this out, there's going to be so many tournaments, there's going to be so many points, the inflations are going to be so huge that for anybody to have a chance in California, we're going to really need to build a strong foundation. We're going to have to really build a lot of tournaments out here. So this season, I'm just going to focus on TOing. I'm just going to focus on building the community and setting this up so we have an infrastructure so that way those who want to grind for the Invitational, they can. And maybe if I get it to a point where it's set up and it's settled, the following year, if I have it within myself to pull myself out of the bottom of my heart that I was sat at for a really long time, I can maybe start to try to grind there if I wanted to.
Well, funny how fate had another way of going about it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And just through the process of doing all of that, we did really well this year. We did phenomenally well this year on a lot of different big tournaments. And again, part of that is also to speak to the credence I was talking about is just hours in. Part of building tournaments was going to other tournaments, was going to other places, networking, finding other places, supporting other tournaments, supporting Central California, Northern California, all these things, and helping them with that and talking with them. And, you know, you just go and you play, and I ended up doing pretty well at some of these. And just, I don't think it's going to hit me until I'm sat at the NV, and then I'm probably going to cry really, really hard for like 3 minutes and then pull myself together. But
round one, the bell has started.
Oh God, dude, don't. Yeah. So, I right now it is a really nice. I will say this for myself. It is a really nice. Feels very like a lot of closure, like the ending of a chapter here. It wasn't a year, but it took 2 years. We're there. We made it happen. Because the entire reason why I got into this is I wanted to see if Boros could sit with the big boys, even to see if it was possible. You know what I mean?
Well, that segues very nicely into one thing that I have here, and that's, you know, in my conversations with several of the other pilots, a lot of people weren't intending to actually make it to the Invi. In my interview with Justin, for example, Justin sat down and said when Dockside was banned, he was just going to try out every piece of color pie and figure out what he wanted to play. His main thing that he found, the first thing was Oswald. And he had some life stuff go on, and it ends up that he didn't really have the energy to learn other decks. So he just kind of stuck with Oswald, and now he's in the Envy. So
yeah,
why Boros? Why did you want to just do that? Was it just casual and just, you know, hey, I like it?
My very first commander deck was a mono-white Nahiri Commander's Masters Planeswalker Equipment Matters deck. And then I got into the lore, and Nahiri went Boros, so I followed her there, and then I tried to make equipment work in cEDH, and that kind of worked, and I ran Godo and Zerta for a very long time, and now we're just trying to optimize 100%. So, yeah, specifically Boros, I just, I don't know. I've always been a one kick 1,000 times type person. You and I were on that episode with Zach that I think should be coming out before this, where we're talking about specializing versus generalizing. I mean, it's the same thing with what Justin has found. I think personally, I don't get enough. I play a lot of cEDH, and I don't think I play enough to like actually fully like understand and get the reps in to like fully explore a singular deck. People being able to explore all these other decks, great on you, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I think just like how Justin's saying that like the more you can just focus in on one thing, it helps you specialize. And I think that probably leads to the fact that Justin managed to make it to the MB because he did the one deck and he learned that one really, really well.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was able to push it to where it's at. And yeah, I mean, you go to tournaments and you just focus on getting better and you just focus on winning each game in front of you as much as you can, or each tournament in front of you as much as you can. And just eventually, if the stars align, if you get lucky, there are so many rounds. I think back to how many rounds I've won this season that were full flukes, just full hey, I top decked the Monolith. Jam? ? Cool. Like, there's so many games that happen like that. And again, it's like numbers and luck too. Obviously, there's some skill, but like, I say all this for the people that are listening. Like, just focus on getting better. Just get focused on getting better. And eventually, if you just focus on that one step in front of you, you will land where you're supposed to land and where you want to land. It's great to set goals, but like, I'll say this for those of people who are wanting to grind for the MB next year, it's great to have goals. It's good to do stuff. Look after your mental health. Please look after your mental health more than anything. At the end of the day, this is a game. This is why we try to highlight the community as much as it is. At the end of the day, the community will help support you if you are a good person within the community. If you feed the community will feed you back and make sure that you don't fall through the cracks as much as possible, at least, because it can be harrowing. It can be really, really, really bad.
Oh, absolutely.
I suffer from definitely like bouts of depression way back when, and I got a really good hold on it at a certain point, and that whole first year of Envy put me right back there for a second. So for me to like have to pull myself back up, so it can get really bad for you. And you can ask anybody that was around me at that time when I was grinding. I was not a pleasant person to be around for a little bit. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
just
it's It's crazy when talking about like how emotionally involved the invitational can be and how these points on a leaderboard that doesn't even encompass all tournaments. Like many tournaments are left out of the Top Deck Invitational series
Yeah.
specifically. Like this is the specifically the Top Deck circuit. And if you don't
Yes.
play in Top Deck events, a lot of your, it's okay if you lose these events and then win the ones that aren't on EDH Top 16. It's
Yeah.
important to look after your mental health.
Yeah.
And one of the articles that I just put up, actually, as of recording, I think this was a week ago that I put this out, was cEDH is more than tournaments. And it's the different ways that you can play the game and engage with the game as well as engage with the community that aren't just purely tournaments. I
Yeah.
wrote that article because I went on a massive loss streak this year. A total of 25 straight losses, not even draws, 25 losses in a row, followed by, if you total it all out, almost 55 games without winning. Draws and losses combined 55 in a row. And
And
so
that can
I'm
just
sure that
happen.
you've had that happen as well.
Yeah.
Like you've had
Yeah.
like those long bouts.
That can just happen just through luck, just through pure luck, just through no pilot error, no, just through maybe like some slight deck build, but like that just happens. So like, keep it in mind. It is a game, and make sure I always say, if you want to talk about why Boros, right? It's fun. It's really fun to me, and it speaks like it lets me play the game that I want to play, and I get to run silly stuff and my pet cards, and I get to play Mirage Mirror. Like, keep the if you can keep the game fun for you, that's already half the battle. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I mean, the other thing
that's
with
it.
like fun, like if you're expecting to grind for the invitational, right? And you play, how many turns? 60, 70 tournaments in a year? You're doing like 2 a week, maybe. Maybe you're doing one every other week, so you play like 30 tournaments. Do you
Yeah.
really want to play 30 tournaments on a deck that you hate? If you're
Yeah, that
expecting
you're
to
not
try and
having
top
fun on?
every
Oh.
event, that's 5 rounds every single time, 5 times 30. That's 150 rounds on a deck that you don't even like. Before you even start talking about top cuts and invitationals, and before you even start talking about politicking with decks
Yep.
that you don't even like. Like, how are you expected to sit there and be like, hey guys, this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do, can we come to an agreeable state when what you're doing you don't even like doing?
Let's between 2025 and 2026, I have played in 108 events.
Oh,
108. So yeah.
If there's 5 rounds per event, that's 540 rounds before we're talking about the top cut. That's before we're talking about like any kind of finals tables, quarterfinals tables. Those games are 3 hours, guys.
Yeah.
3 hours on a deck that you don't even like.
So much. You want to agree and opt into a situation where you're going to be miserable? No, man. Like, just I don't know.
And to the advice of people that are just like, oh yeah, just play wrong sides. Oh, you can just jam and turn your brain off. That's not how you improve. We're trying to talk about actually having a shot at the invitational, having a shot at winning the invitational, which is a lot of mental energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you better be doing it on something that you really enjoy.
Yeah, something I also want to point out is that I think a lot of people are really focused on what the Invi meta is going to look like and what decks are going to be overpopulated. I'm going to just shout out all the specialists, man. All the people that are like showing. We have 3 Arkham Daxums, supposedly, according to meta. We're going to have 3 Arkham Daxums, which is wild to me. But like you're talking about like maybe like the first 40% is represented decks, and then the bottom rest, like not the bottom, but like 60% of the other things are people that are one tricks. We got a Tayam in this year. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
and this is also not to say like the Rog Ishai players that made it in, like the decks that didn't even exist last year, like Bile Thrasios, that didn't happen last year.
Yeah, exactly. So just like, I mean, I came from casual, you know what I mean? So I think that part of that is also still part of it. It's like, we're playing Commander, man. I want to play what I want. If I want to be sweaty and play the meta deck, I go play Modern or I go play Legacy or something. You know what I mean? If I want to be the tightest Magic player in the world and like prove that, like there's other ways to do that. Put your main character in the command zone, dude. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. If you want to play the most skill intensive format, it's probably Seal. Probably some kind of limited format with your knowledge of deck construction, what the meta is, the picks and everything, how to construct a sideboard, combat math. Like, I'm pretty sure that that's probably going to be the most skill-intensive format. If not that, probably Modern, probably Legacy. I don't know. Talking about some of the other points in terms of, focusing back in on cEDH and everything, let's talk about political skill. Let's talk about how you talk to people. One thing that I often got from my conversation with Matt Hayes was he specifically tried to look for games with newer people to try and understand politics better. He specifically looked for worse players than him who would try and do things that he thought was wrong to see if he could test his own political skill to navigate games when he's on the back foot, or he would try and be targeted, figure it out from there. How do you approach politics from the total opposite direction? Because your deck is very commander-centric compared to his. Your
Sure.
deck revolves around a much more limited number of pieces, and you're also playing a different archetype than him. How does
Yeah.
all of that change your approach to politics, especially going into the Invitational when you know everyone's going to be competent?
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept of, I mean, I've always approached politics from first and foremost integrity. Like, I don't think
Don't
my
lie.
deck, yeah, just don't lie. I mean, this is a big part of who I am. Accountability and integrity are very important things to me, just at a personal level. I want my word to matter. I want my word, people to know that if I say something, that one, I mean it, and that there's a 90% certainty that it's going to get done if if it's going to happen.
Just on a personal level, right?
Yeah,
Just like
just day to day, just day to
yeah,
day. That's my goal. Whether or not I'm human, is sometimes I fail, but that is my big philosophy that I've inherited from just like learning things in life. And but also just on a practical level, my deck is so explosive that I don't think it survives if I am willing to try to angle shoot or try to lie to people, because
right,
I need you to trust me that, hey, listen, I'm about to untap with 4 mana. You don't need to silence me here. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to play
right.
Tithe or something. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just jam. Or take it to the other extreme. I have had deals that I can make and I can uphold, and this gives me some leeway where it's like, hey, listen, you have a piece right now, but if you blow me out, we're going to lose to somebody else. Let me have infinite mana. I can help. I won't win the game. I will not win the game. If I have infinite mana, my deck is designed to operate with this. I can draw a couple cards and help interact, and I will not win the game on my turn. I will not win at flash speed, even if it's just like, hey, I'll play for a draw at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think being able to hold and maintain and like secure that level of integrity and understanding, just at least for my personal stuff, it gives me a lot more options in games than I would. Even to the extent of like, I extend it further out, even just to like the deck itself. I've joked. I haven't had to do this yet, but part of I wrote in the Deserta Discord with Kevin and a couple other the guys that are out there. They're awesome, right? I've made not even jokes, just serious considerations that if I hear about a person that's playing Zerta and they're lying to people, that I will kick them from the server. Because, like, I haven't had to do it yet, because like, this is also just a call out to everybody. If you feel like there's a Zerta that's, like, lied to you, let me know, because to me, that's damaging to the deck itself. I do not want to give them the advantage of watching us brew and talk about all these things. If they're going to lie on the deck, I can't stop them. But I don't want them associated with me at the very least, and I don't want them associated with the deck as much as possible. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't think that the deck can, it can maybe flame up and do really well if you're willing to lie, but I don't think it's a sustainable way to play the game in general. But specifically for my deck, especially since I don't have Force of Will, I don't have all these things, you know what
Oh,
I mean? I
absolutely.
need to make, the deck is very, like, extreme on both ends, so it's like, I need to be able to make those deals. So that's like, the very first thing where you're talking about politics is like, if I say something's going to happen, if I need to be like, hey, let me have infinite mana, I'll cast this Walking Ballista in my hand, I'll kill the other 2 players, the Walking Ballista will end up in the bin, I don't get an Agha's Soul Cauldron, and you and I can 1v1 in a place that you and I can agree to that is a fair fight.
Right.
I want to be able to make that, and I've made that deal and I've held to it, and it happens, you know what I mean?
You know,
So,
there's a very interesting talking point about how other players treating your deck can affect you. You look at last year and you look at the way that the meta was developed, and there were some very interesting things. One notable thing, and a lot of people have kind of moved on from this, and I think we all should too as a community, but this is relevant for the conversation. There was an 11-hour game with a Marnius Calgar player. Since then, Marnius has dropped off the meta.
yeah.
Marnius's meta share has kind of diminished since one player really took it really too far in a game.
Mhm.
And I think that in the current meta, Marnius is fine. Marnius
And it
is
would
actually
do really well, at
probably a
least in the
good deck.
last 2
Yeah,
months. It's slot. They also just got Queen of Dale. They just got Gleaming Splendor. Like,
exactly.
Marnius should be in a good position, but I hear you. Like, literally. Yeah, like, just...
Yeah. And that player has made amends. He plays another deck now. He plays other things. But I think that the damage done to the reputation of Marnius as a deck
Yeah.
has really made it a lot harder to play the deck from like just a pilot skill person. And nothing against the pilot themselves. They've admitted on
No, but it
multiple
is a fun...
occasions it was wrong. And I
It's a
feel like as a
phenomenon,
community, we
though.
have
Yeah.
solutions to it.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing that makes cEDH is so cool is that sure we can't get the RC or the CAG to ban a card that we need, but we socially at a certain point, like for instance, right now a lot of people are like, I think people are getting like tired of playing slop, so people just aren't playing slop because they're just tired of it. Because
Yeah.
cEDH, as much as we want to be like, oh, we're competitive and we're doing all these things, we're playing the peak of cEDH.
I mean,
You're
just
still
look at the
playing Commander.
leaderboard. All the people that say ban Rhystic Study is the name.
Yeah. Well, but like that's what I'm saying is that like you're still cEDH players. You're still a Commander player to a certain extent. Some part about you wants to do the cool thing. You know what I mean? And like I think that the pros and cons of that are in casual Commander also apply to a certain extent. Just looks very differently in cEDH, where it socially corrects for itself in a lot of ways, and the meta fluctuates and socially corrects for itself as well. You know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that there is a little bit of that like pre-modern player as well, where you have this kind of card pool that is generally pretty fixed. It's hard for a card to affect the meta. Every once in a while you get a Badger Mole Cub, but outside of that, the card pool is pretty fixed to what is already printed. And to see people adapt around it, to try and change around other things, innovations with like Rog Ishai. Recently in Japan, there's been a new Magus that's been making a big splash.
Let's go.
I'm very interested to see where that's going to go.
I wanted to talk to you guys real quick about some tournaments that we're going to be going to in the very near future.
We've got Breach the Bay 2. If you're the first Breach the Bay, it was a freaking massive success. One of the largest tournaments California has seen, and it was hosted by Doot Loot Association with Merlion Games. We got the same thing coming to you August 22nd and 23rd in San Mateo, California. This time, this is functioning as the Topdeck Open. So the Invitational will be taking place in the same space and hosted alongside Breach the Bay 2. If you didn't make the Invitational, you can still play in Breach the Bay and clean up a pretty tidy prize winnings. There's a $25K minimum guaranteed, so the winners will obviously have quite a bit of dough to throw around. There's going to be an artist alley as well as vending from Doot Loot, Merlion Games, and Gold Sabertooth himself. So make this one of the best events in cEDH history. Let's compete with that first Topdeck Open and beat 500 players, and I'll see you there. Some of you may remember an 11-hour game of cEDH that took place a little over a year ago. This happened in Provo, Utah, and now we're back for round 2. Although I probably can't promise an 11-hour game again, you never know. We're going to have Yaps Giving. This is going to be November 7th and 8th in Utah, Provo. If you are in the area, if you're somewhere nearby, if you're on the East Coast, if you're in Europe, come to this event. Utah is the place for cEDH. They have some of the best players and people that I've been honored to play with in this game so far. If you register before September 8th, you can claim this spot at this tournament for just $100. After that, the price will increase. So if you want to check out this event, check out Yaps Giving, links below. I'll be there playing some cEDH and seeing if we can break that 11-hour record.
But in general, like with this kind of fixed card pool and with this kind of like understanding of what other decks are doing, are you going to be packing any tech for the Invitational? Or you were talking about the analysis of it as it was. Like, do you have anything that you're... Or do you not want to share what your tech is?
I'll talk about it. The best part is that I can talk about this tech because I don't think I'm running it anymore because I think it just got a strict upgrade. For a little bit, I was testing out. I've been trying to cut One Ring out of my deck forever because I think it's not good enough and I think it's slow and it's good and I have keys and blah, blah, blah. But for a really long time, I was testing this card called Geth's Grimoire, and it's specifically a slop tech. So Geth's Grimoire is a 4-drop artifact that anytime somebody discards a card, you may draw a card. So I have played this in tournament games where it has drawn me up to 15 cards.
You've played this against me?
Yeah. and it picked up like 5 or 6 cards. I still think
Every
it's a
game,
very,
it
very good
literally
card.
did every game draw about 4 to 5 cards. Like,
I love it. I think it's great. But right now, obviously, Gleaming Splendor is Watsky went, hey Wayne, you know how you've been trying to build Zerta in a sustainable way that'll scale up and will do better, and you saw Knuckles and you're like, oh, Watsky's gonna be printing red treasures in red. Maybe if I build for treasures in red and white, I'll get better pieces. And they were like, here you go, Wayne. You were right. It just took us a couple months. Here's Gleaming Splendor. And I'm like, anyways, I won't get we won't get technical, but yeah. So yes,
with the Hobbit coming out right now, we're great. Hobbit's not out as of the recording
a week
of this,
before the Invitationals. So we're testing these cards and we're having fun with all these things. But yeah, so there are a couple things that I'm teching in. Guest Grimoire, unfortunately, I think is probably going to be the thing that I end up cutting for Gleaming Splendor. We're testing some stuff out. I think going up interaction is good. Here's the thing: is the way that I look at my list, right? Is there are ramp pieces, there's outlets, there's tutors, and then there's interaction. And those interaction slots don't change unless I really feel balance is off. I'm really big about the balance of my deck, like how it feels in my hand and like what the probabilities are, because I've kind of tuned my brain to a point where I'm used to like, I should probably draw an outlet here, right? I can just keep this. Okay, cool.
Well, we were talking earlier, with the number of rounds that you've played, 500 games according to your own map. That's not even including the practice rounds.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's not even considering all that. Yeah, exactly, right? So you just build muscle and like intuition and instincts about stuff. So I don't like messing with the numbers and the percentages of the deck balance, but I do
the actual heuristics of the deck.
Yes. Yeah. But I do change the interaction pieces. The interaction pieces will come in and out, and just depending on what you're expecting to see, you know what I mean? So that's why a lot of these meta breakdowns are like very, very important, There are some mainstays, obviously, but yeah, there are some tech pieces in there. I'm testing out a board wipe finally in my list. I usually dislike board wipes because I'm so creature heavy, but it's just, worth a shot. They printed me an artifact board wipe in Mjolnir, Thor's Hammer.
It's looked really good so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really fun. I'm still not really high on board wipes, but this is like the most palatable version that I've ever found, so we're testing it, But yeah, I mean, I think especially when it comes to invitationals, I think if it's a meta that can be predicted, more or less predicted, and it's small enough, we're getting to the point where 80 might be a little bit too big, where it might still be a little bit general. But I think you can tech a little bit for that, and you could tech a little bit for the meta. But in my mind, people always ask me like, "Hey, Wayne, you're running, the Atrium. Well, what should we expect?" I'm like, well, it's 100 plus people tournament, so just general cEDH. There's going to be a little bit of like local flavor, sure, but there's still you just got to be like just play to a general match. You know what I mean? So I'll make my deck. I have a general cEDH like 100 plus tournament list that I will go with, and then this one's like looking like a little bit different just because it's a different meta, different players. I can't expect to just ritual out into a win and then not be nickel and dimed on every single poetic ritual,
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing, like when talking about like the tournament sizes and everything like that, worst case scenario, hey, there's the redemption event the next day, right?
Yeah, no, listen, I just want to win. Obviously, I'm going to try my best. I always go to these things. I try to win as much as possible. I try to play my best. If I just want to make sure I win one game, that feels pretty good. And honestly, I've been on vacation for like the last 2 months. I've been chilling. I mean, obviously, we've been playing and we've been trying to get ready for the Invitational. But like at this point, like after they were like, here's your Invitational invite. 15 is way better than I thought I would ever get. This year has been crazy.
I mean, you're on the front page, front and center.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's sunken yet. 100%. But like, at this point, I feel like I have set out the project of, hey, Boros cEDH commander. What does that look like? And can I sit at the table and be a threat and be a problem and like play and be a genuine like part of the game? The thing I set out to do about 2 years ago, I feel like that project has more or less not been done, because obviously I'll still keep playing the deck. We still love it. It's still really fun to do all these things. But that project has kind of like felt like, hey, this feels complete now at this point. And it's kind of an interesting story the entire way through, which it feels weird to think about.
Well, that's what the point of me talking to you is right now.
Exactly right.
Let's talk about that story. I mean, you've spent almost 10% of your life on this project. Like, this is wild to think about, like all the work that you've put into this. And I feel like that more people should know about all of this. And I say this in the third person, like I don't see you every day.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or like 3 times a week.
But yeah, so that project feels like it's not come to an end yet, but we're approaching like the last like epilogue bit. We'll see what the MV ends up being, and then after that, I'm really focusing on the bigger project of BFF cEDH and this channel.
It's very funny. I was talking. So far, every player that I've talked to has literally just been like, you know what? If I owe 3, I'm playing at the Redemption, and I'm not giving a fuck. I've had 2 different people be like, I hope I owe 3, so that way I can play against my friends.
Well, that's the thing is, and to the listeners, like, especially the MV being 5 rounds this time around, there is so much luck and variance that goes into this game that like literally like you could just multi 4 like 5 times and you had no chance to begin with. You know what I mean? Like that just happens sometimes. So like
you're in 4th seat, you're looking at your hand, you're already on 6. No lands.
I like there is not a very parallel, like a not too like deviant parallel universe where like half of the Topdeck leaderboard looks completely different based off of somebody getting up an hour later. You know what I mean? Like,
I always do think about how different the cEDH meta would be if Jace and Zach just didn't match up well. They just didn't do well at D-Grid, and they didn't do well in those first 2 events.
Exactly.
How different cEDH would look right now.
Nah, but like, yeah, exactly. Like there is skill, there is people. There's a reason why like Evan and Zach like keep showing up at top 16s. Like there's reasons why that happens. But
or what if Evan chose Winota as his deck? I want to live in that timeline.
Winota, let's go! I started on Winota when I was when I first started. So Winota was one of the first decks that I started playing, and I really. I
want to live in the timeline where he's playing Tayum.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy.
Same set. Yeah, exactly. Cannon and Tayum came out in the same set.
But yeah, so exactly, right? So to get there is already, like, the way that I've always kind of looked at it is, if you've top 16 to tournament, you've won. You won Swiss. Whether or not you make it out of top 16 is kind of a dice roll that you can kind of weigh by skill. And whether or not you win top 4 is kind of a dice roll based off whether or not that you can kind of weigh a little bit. But if you made top 16, you've won. You've done pretty good. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I think that I wish that more deck techs and tournament recaps would go deeper down into that pool, like 16 or who top 16. Congrats on everybody you got. You guys won round 1. You know what I mean? Like the first like cut. You know what I mean? Like that's an accomplishment within themselves. Even going down to like 32 and like who almost made it. Hey, these are people that I should be paying attention
like
to.
The whole top 40 or doing more events that are like that. I really like those kind of things. I really liked what Convoke did originally with top 13s instead of doing top 16s. I think that doing those kind of weirder top cuts makes it like much more interesting and a much more impactful Swiss round overall. Like having a top 13 finish where 1 seat gets a bye, I think that I can create a lot of interesting dynamics. Do you have any, like, because of the whole tournament structure of Breach the Bay and the NV being around the Japanese system, are you changing anything for your own play style, or do you have any considerations for that at all?
Well, I don't gotta change anything because the NV is back on is the same old. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. In terms of like,
then this question is moot.
but.
One big thing that I had in my conversation with Aaron, well, this wasn't my conversation with him specifically on this, but a conversation that I had with Aaron Joseph, another player that I'm interviewing here, is, what would you change about the tournament structure of things? And Aaron was like, I don't know. This is the structure that I've played. This is the structure that I know. And when I asked Justin, the Oswald pilot, the same question, he said that he doesn't know anything about this because he's not a TO. He's only played it from the player perspective of things. Sure. He's not participated in any big tournaments like this. From the TO perspective, and I'm being interested to hear what you have to say about it, as well as from the a player perspective of someone that's been to probably more events.
An amount of events. What would I change structure-wise? I really am interested. We're watching very carefully what people think about the Japanese system for Breach the Bay. I think that something that I would be what we've done at BFF cEDH sometimes is we'll do like interesting things where we like mess with things a little bit, but nothing too crazy because we do also want to provide an environment for people to practice in the standard system. We've done like top 13 cuts, where it's like number 1 sits at the top and then it gets the bye for into top 4 and everybody else has to fight for it. Something that I personally, just off the cuff, I have no idea what the implications necessarily be. This hasn't been thought through all the way, but I would try shorter rounds. I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I kind of am a big fan.
I am on record saying 60 minutes, no overtime. That's the way forward.
I don't know what the numbers is. I might be like 60 minutes, 20 minutes overtime, 60 minutes, 10 minutes overtime. But just to get us culturally as cEDH players more used to moving a game forward if anybody wants any chance of winning. Like, I want it to be normal where everybody is like, hey, let's resolve triggers well. Let's politic quickly and like precisely and have like ready-made politics to either confirm or deny and be like, hey, option A, no. Option B, no. Great, let's move on. Option A, no. Option B, yes. Great, let's go. You know what I mean? If we can just get to the point where that is the pace, I want shot clocks, man. I want chess clocks in cEDH.
In Portland, when I was there, actually, ends up that like we had tried doing for a long time 70-minute rounds. And I really liked playing under 70-minute rounds. There wasn't overtime at that time. If you just went over the clock, tough shit. You just go until the game was finished. But like 70-minute timers, I think if there was like a hard cutoff, 70 minutes is a great space to operate in. At least for practicing if you're playing under like an 80-minute clock. Because it's close, but you do cut out a significant amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's always hard because at least for BFF cEDH, we're never going to do anything too crazy outlandish necessarily because, again, we want to be a function for the community if they want to practice. You know what I mean? If they want to practice for, like, let's say the Topdeck season or something like that. Like, I always say the only way to practice for tournaments is go to tournaments. You know what I mean? So we want to provide that space, but we are definitely down to, like, try and tweak things slightly, and that's why we're looking at things like the Japanese system and how they pan out. I think 60 minutes with 10 minutes overtime still kind of gets a thing where we're speeding things up a little bit, but we're all still getting the practice of the skill of forcing draws or like, hey, we're on final turn. What does that mean? How do I play? How do I politic differently? Because I think that is still part of the skill set of being a cEDH player. I think that's a really big skill set in cEDH, and the reason why some people are able to continuously put up top 16 results, put up all the rest of it, is being able to force a draw is a skill, I think. And I have always been very skeptical of anybody that's just like, no, draw should be worth 0. I'm in 4th seed and I have mold to 3 and I have land silence. Like,
yeah, like what am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do, right? Like, what are you supposed to do? This way you at least have a way to keep yourself engaged in part of the game. It's not a foregone conclusion that you can force a draw, but you can try, and there's a skill, you know? Like, I think
that draws have gotten a bit out of hand in terms of like where we're at, but I think that there is real skill in navigating, like, especially from another player's position, like, oh, how do I navigate away from a draw? You know, what kind of deals can I make to keep the game moving? Like, let's not make it a pure draw. How do we keep it going?
Yeah.
How do we keep, and then on the other side, it's like, how do I navigate this game to a draw? Like, I'm in a terrible position. I need to make a draw happen, but I don't have the tools. How can I use my words and have like double use out of my spells to be able to navigate towards that?
Yeah. And again, this is just social upgrading, you know, like people learned how to force draws. Now the good players are learning how to navigate it, like you say, navigate away from draws. You know what I mean? It's just the natural, like, growth of the format, I think. But that's just my opinion.
Absolutely. I think my last question, more than anything, for the Invitational and for moving forward into the next season potentially, do you see any kind of big like shakeups or anything coming?
Big shakeups for next season. Not for the upcoming season, as far as I know.
At least not until January or something, you know?
Yeah, I think that the meta is just going to continue to grow. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like I wasn't here for primetime. I wasn't here for Flash Hulk ban, but I was here for the Dockside ban, like living through that. And I think that this community is just filled with a bunch of really creative people that will figure answers out for problems. You know what I mean? And the hardest part about that is the thing that I really like about cEDH is that it is kind of a solvable puzzle. Casual, you can't solve for anything because you could be facing whatever, you know what I mean? So all the decks become kind of generic soup. But in cEDH, I can tech against Blue Farm. I can tech against Kinnan. Like this is a puzzle that I can find the right pieces for. And that is, and it's still nebulous enough and constantly changing that you have to engage with it, as well. But I think that's the cool part about cEDH. So I think I'm excited to see, I mean, we still haven't really seen the impact of Marvel very well, like Crystal still being a deck, all these other decks that are like, I don't know.
I still haven't
Shang-Chi,
seen an end step text magic yet.
Yeah, exactly, right? So Shang-Chi's being a thing. So I mean, I don't have any called shots right now other than we will be trying to make tournaments for you guys, and I will try my best to have fun playing the thing, and that people are going to continue to wow and impress you, I think.
My called shot for moving forward is we're going to start seeing more hidden commanders in the command zone. People are going to be trying out more hidden commanders in, as well as more hidden strategies to try and juke the meta, so to speak, and people trying out hidden strategies next.
Yeah. I definitely think hidden stocks are going up like crazy.
I said hidden, like hidden strategies.
I think hidden. I think Displacer Kitten, people are going to be abusing that a little bit more.
Yeah, that falls under that category.
I'm excited I used to play in a cEDH where you could expect at least in about half of your games to see 1 or 2 stacks pieces. And learning how to play around stacks pieces was a really fun puzzle that you had to try to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that people are it's so funny. It's seasons, right? Oppo used to be an instinct. You had to check for Oppo mana constantly. After you fetch, you check for Oppo mana. This was a thing that was instilled in me. And
or
the fact
you go
that
fetch Oppo?
Oppo? So the
Dark
fact
Red
that
Oppo? Anyone?
Exactly, right? 1 black mana could be Dark Red Oppo. Are you ready for that? Is that something you thought about before you fired off your gamble, That used to be something that you'd have to think about, and I think people are getting wise back onto the fact that, hey, some of these old strategies kind of come in and out, are going to go really, really well. So I'm excited for maybe, and especially with Tyan doing better, I'm excited for maybe a little bit of a Staxier games. I miss stacks a lot. I love stacks. I'm a stacks player at heart. So that'd be really cool. I'd be down for that. But who knows, man? This meta, especially we had 7 sets this year. Next year we're gonna have 6 sets. Who knows, man? They're gonna print some crazy stuff like Shang-Chi, and we're all just gonna have to adapt.
So I think one thing that is also kind of forgotten about in terms of this whole printing policy stuff, secret layers. Actually, there are 58 secret layers next year.
True.
Just because if a card gets a shiny art, that boosts the playability of it. I'm serious when I say that.
Yeah, no, for real.
Permission denied being that fucking art.
Yeah.
Well,
permission denied was, correct me if I'm wrong, but was a mechanically unique card in a secret lair.
It was for the Jurassic Park tie-in secret lair.
Yeah.
Thing. And so permission denied might not be the best example. A really good example, I think that flash photography is a really good example, being part of the whole art piece with everything. And I think that as we're going to get the Hobbit art piece, and as we're going to get the Star Trek art piece, as much as I despise saying that, I think that those kinds of pieces that are going to make a splash in the winter or that come out later in the year, I think that those ones are probably going to affect that. Because yes, flash photography was spoiled last year for the NV, but it wasn't legal because of the fact that it came out during December for the holiday season. I would be interested to see how these kind of cards that we know about now but aren't able to play will change the meta and everything, especially with things like Bilbo's Gambit being talked about.
Yeah, Bilbo's Gambit is kind of cool. I'm testing it for sure right now. It's interesting. I think I'm of an age now where it's just kind of the more things change, the more they stay the same to a certain extent, in the sense that these things happen in cycles, especially if you're just new to cEDH or you're,
or if you haven't played for that long, you haven't played that last season.
Yeah, or just just genuinely you're young. You know what I mean? In the moment, things can feel like big giant problems and big meta shifts and the sky is falling and stuff like that. But I mean, if you just keep your eye on the prize, have fun, treat your fellow cEDH players people and people that you're going to play with all that much. cEDH is still a very small community. It's, even though it's growing and there's a lot of people in it, we're very connected. We're on Discord all the time. So just
that's where you can find everyone. Ping any Discord and you'll probably find one of us in there.
Yeah. Or just hey, does anybody have X's Discord, and then somebody will know somebody that knows somebody. So more than anything, as you're grinding, as you're trying to go for invitationals, as you're trying to do all these things, you will get farther along in this it always, if you move with a sense of community and with a sense of help. I remember very specifically, there was a point where I was grinding for the first season and I was really, really stuck in my own head and I was just really down on myself and I'm staring, like I lost and we were at a tournament in San Diego and Zach looks over and goes, "Hey, are you okay, man?" And at that point, I was like, "No, I'm doing really, really bad right now. Why? What's up? What's going on? Like, do you need something?" And he's like, "No, I just want to check in on all my friends, see how they're doing." And up until that point, I had never really, like, I thought Zach was cool. I was chill with Zach, whatever else, but I never thought of him as my friend until he did that, you know?
I think one thing that a lot of people, I talked about this in a different article. I think it was I don't remember which article was it, but if you look through some of my old work, you'll see that one piece was called commiserating as a community.
Yeah.
And there are several times when you're going to be in tournaments and there are a group of players who have gone 0-3 or who are traveling with a group and are, 4 draws deep going into round 5 just going, "Oh, God, this was not my event." And one thing that I started doing at the Convoke tournaments and at Night of the Living Deck and Pink Pony Tussle specifically, I would gather a group of players into one area in like the lunch eating area, and I would commandeer a table and I would set up Judge Tower. And I would invite all the losing players and say, "Hey guys, let's play Judge Tower." And at Night of the Living Deck, and I will always pride myself on this, I got more spectators at my Judge Tower table than at the finals. More people were sitting there watching my Judge Tower game that I had gotten with a bunch of other players, and I was trying to get this good time going. Then there were people spectating the finals, and we all said our goodbyes, and people started packing up, and then the finals got to play out their own thing, and the finals were declared a draw, which was, in my opinion, one of the most fun memories that I have an event that I never won.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just
if you're not in a good place and you're not doing good at a tournament, these tournaments are big. There could be upwards of 100 people in there. Go up to people and be like, "Hey, did you lose your game? I just lost 3 in a row, man. I'm right there with you."
Yeah. I mean, and there's good stuff to be, in there too, because you talk about how you can improve if that's where your head's stuck at, in the sense that I need to get better. But yeah, just like, I don't know, be for the people that, if you have that capacity within you and you are able to be that person for everybody else, and you will find that the game is more rewarding even outside of the wins and the losses and all the rest of it like that. I mean, literally just last night, we were practicing for Invies, and there was just 2 hours. We went, "All right, screw it, let's go have really good Chinese food. And just all hang out, and just talk,
Oh
and
yeah,
just be friends."
those steam buns. Oh, those hit the spot.
Yeah. So it's corny. I always say this is, it's corny to say it's about the gathering, all the stuff. Corny things are corny in life because they're true.
Yeah. And I think, staying positive through all of this and staying positive as you're expected to lose 75% of your games if you're playing with equally skilled players. Now, if you're a winning player, maybe that number is a little bit lower. Maybe you're winning 30-40% of your games, but you're still losing.
It's not by much. It's not by much. It's a little bit better, but it's not by much.
Yeah, right. But like, let's say you're a great player, 50% win rate. You're still losing half of your games, and you're going to be in seat 4. You're going to be sitting in seat 1 with a great start, and all 3 players go, "Okay, draw pack, draw pack, draw pack," and suddenly you're staring there with 4 pact of negations in hand, and you're sitting there with 4 force of wills, and you're like, "Well, how did this even happen?" So as long as you're keeping a positive mental. And that's the big thing that I just want to highlight with this kind of section here. Staying positive. Like, how do you do it? You're so positive, Wayne.
Me?
Tell me your secrets.
Oh dear Lord!
Tell me your secrets.
If there's
not
anything,
even an interview just for me.
If there's anything that question makes me feel more like a sham than anything else, because you can ask anybody. I was really like, I guess okay. I guess the real answer is practice, hours in, because like I said, last year I was miserable. I was miserable internally for a while, and also just to be around, and very cognizant about doing that and really trying to hold it together and not spread that misery around as much as possible. And I have so much like love and thanks to all the people that endured that. And they're still my friends. And now I feel I'm a little much better. But like, yeah, it just takes hours, and just like perspective is a huge thing. I always say, right? Perspective. I'm very specifically remembered. There's a time I was Rain when she first started playing the game. She was feeling down on herself for, not doing well. And it's like, yeah, you just started playing. Here, let's take up this. Let's pull up the leaderboard. Here's a tip. Here's a tip, guys, for you guys out there. This is like a very factual, usable tip. Any big tournament that you're at, if you don't do well, if you end up somewhere middle of the pack or something like that, pull up that standings board once it's all said and done. Look at all the people above you and go down and be like, all right, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. How did that guy get there? Wait, what? Okay, well, sure. Like, maybe he, I played against that guy. I've beaten that guy a couple of times. Like, I think that's fine. And you'll get, just do that. Go down to all the people above you and just go and be like, all right, cool. I'm at least as good as that person. That means that the day was just kind of, chance and all the rest of it. And then, yeah, once you've done that, go to the half that's below you and then go, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Wait, that's an MV player. He's scrubbed out. There's another MV player. He's scrubbed out.
When you see comedian at the bottom of the leaderboard, he's like, what deck did he bring? Or
exactly, right?
You see someone that's like, oh, I know that's a good player. How did you do that bad?
Sometimes it's just not your day. Sometimes you just ate something bad, or sometimes you just brought the wrong deck or the meta or whatever it is. Like that's all of that to say that's a very usable tip, right? But the big part of that is perspective. Like, zoom out. It's the sense of especially when you're like focused in on the moment, you're like, I punted. I could have top 16 if I didn't do this, and you're down on yourself and realize it. Once you've done that, once you've learned the lesson and you internalize the lessons, let go, let the emotions pass through you, and zoom out and just recognize, hey, there's more game to be played. And I heard something recently. I think it was Brendan Lee Mulligan was on an interview on Dimension 20 or something like that. And he was talking about one of his teachers told him, you have X amount of bad shows inside of you. You need to go out and get those bad shows out. You need to bomb X amount of times and get those, and if we translate to cEDH, you have a lot of losses. You have a lot of punts stuck inside of your experience that you need to get out. Go play more cEDH and get those bad games out, because the more you get the experience and the more you learn and getting yourself in those situations, the less and less you'll make those mistakes, and you're still going to make those mistakes. But you can't
improve without losing.
Without losing, exactly, right? So if you're losing, if you're punting, great, that's fantastic. You've learned something new. You have a usable, buried deep in your heart, I'm never going to make that mistake again because it was such a high stakes environment, built into your instinct now. That's fantastic. Great.
If you make a punt so legendary, you have to tell people about it.
Yes.
I punted this game crazy style. You know what I mean? You gotta share those experiences.
And that's talking about commiserate. Go to your friends. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends, because, they're Magic players. You have, and then go up, grab some good food afterwards, and then play more games and just have fun. So, again, perspective and just zooming out. And just again, I really want to emphasize this. We're talking about the Invitational, so there's focus on skill and performance and placement and stuff like that. But working on decoupling your sense of worth, at least within the community and the game, to decoupling that from your standing, and recognizing there are a bunch of other avenues out here that you can be, even if it's not oh, I'm going to become a TO, or I'm going to be a content creator, if you can be
a judge, I'm going to be
there's all these things that you can do, and we need these people, and they're great. You can all think about TOs that have built and created spaces for you that I'm sure you owe a lot to, all these things. Everybody listen to this. But even if you are just one of the rocks, maybe not even the rock always, but one of the rocks sometimes for your group of 4 friends, that's making the community better. And I thank you for that. And please do that. And please be there for each other.
That's the big thing that I always want to highlight is all of the players that I've talked to, I feel like are players that you can talk to if you see them at an event. All the players that I'm highlighting aren't toxic people. I didn't want to talk about all the people that have this toxic mentality, or that are abhorrent individuals, or this person slimed me out of a game, this person did X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to talk with anyone like that. I wanted to thank you, Wayne, for coming on with me and having a conversation. That's all that I wanted, and I want to highlight all of the people that are, great individuals. So if you're reading through my articles and you recognize one of those names at your locals, because again, these are players from around the country. You're going to be seeing a lot of these players elsewhere. And if you're in the Midwest and you see, oh, wait, I recognize Zeke. Oh, wait, I recognize Jonathan Vick. I recognize Justin. If you recognize any of those players, go up to them, say hello. We're all humans. We're all wanting to talk about our decks. We're all wanting to talk about Magic with you. Be like, hey, why are you playing that in your deck? And I swear you'll have 3 people turn like a laser beam and go, well, hello there. You want to know my interesting Naya deck tech? Let me tell you all about it.
If you're in that position, it's also the same thing. I'm no one special, guys. 2 years ago, I was running Sunforger loops in Zerda, trying to make equipment Zerda work, doing insane stuff and barely understanding anything about how tournament structure or whatever else sort of thing. cEDH, so much of cEDH is just hours in and understanding and knowing what all the cards do and getting experience about how do I go to tournaments, how do I do all this. There's 1,000 things to learn, but if nothing else, use it to enrich your life and use it to improve yourself as a person. That's always been my thing all the time. So the difference between number 20th on the leaderboard and you is just hours in, dedication, and the attitude. That's it. I guarantee you that if you, it's all accessible there. How you get there and what it looks like is going to be your journey, but that's what makes great. You know what I mean? You get to personalize it to yourself. We're Commander players.
Yeah.
Be your own commander.
PMA, keep it positive, keep it real, keep it human, and remember, there will be more games.
Yes.
There will be more games to punt.
And more games to win. Absolutely.
More games to punt, more games to win. The punts, make the punts as legendary as possible and make the wins as... You okay?
Yeah. Make the punts as legendary as possible is great. I love that.
I'm saying, if you're going to punt crazy.
Not going to lie, Beth.
You got to make it a noteworthy punt.
Out of everybody, I think that you definitely punt the hardest. When you punt, not that you do it often, but when you do, it is hilarious to watch.
No, I don't want to get into that. When I punt crazy style. With Beth, you had gamble, just win. But I want to go for the style of it.
But also, Beth, kudos to you again, too. Also, thank you. The reason why we have you on the channel, the reason why we have all this stuff and are highlighting your articles is that we want to be focusing on other things besides just the deck text, all the rest of it. And you've been doing it longer than I have. You know what I mean? So I thank you for that. And just go read Vaf's stuff, guys. He's funny. He's also just funny. So the articles will have some level of humor, too.
I've never told a joke before in my life.
Yeah. We're so serious here. All serious.
All serious. Anyway, go punt crazy stuff.
All right, rock on, guys.
Seriously.
Hope you guys got something out of all this. Check out the articles. Thanks for watching. I guess
we'll see you in the next one, and I hope to see you in the comment. If you want to comment about someone else that I should interview, if you want to see an article about somebody, let me know. I'm happy to talk with anyone. If you think that there's a member of your community that needs highlighting, tell me about them. Reach out to me on Discord. Reach out to Wayne as well. Both of us, we're more than happy to talk to y'all.
Yeah, 100%, guys.
Hope you got something out of this.
Yeah, hopefully. Rep well out there, guys. Ciao.
Real quick, I wanted to share a word from our sponsors for this episode, Gilded Goblet. If you're in need of proxies, Gilded Goblet is the place to go. This is a brand that I just co-launched, and I'm so pumped to be able to bring it to you. We offer custom decks, so you can pick the 100 cards that you want with the art you love. We also offer singles, sets, and pre-constructed cEDH decks if you're just browsing. Every order, no matter how small it is, has free shipping, no order minimums, just grab whatever you need and you'll get it ASAP. As a tournament grinder, the quality is top-notch, and these can be used in all proxy-friendly events. You can use code BITESIZE to get 10% off whenever you shop. Also, every Wednesday at 10:30, when we release a new Bite-Size video, Gilded Goblet will run an additional sale, so just keep that in mind whenever you're shopping. You can check the link in the description and go get yourself some proxies. All right, let's get back to the video.
Reach out to me if you're interested in cEDH coaching. I won last year's Invitational, and I'm currently ranked top 5 on the leaderboard this year. I've been working with coaching clients on one-to-one personalized plans where we diagnose what they're working on, their struggles, their goals, and help them reach them. In addition, we're also doing spell table coaching sessions so that we can watch you play and give you direct feedback on your game. If you're interested in coaching, reach out to me on Discord. It's at bitesize_snack, or leave a comment on this video. We'll reach out to you. Huge thanks to all the patrons of Bite-Sized. You guys are the best. You help us make videos that we wouldn't make otherwise. You're contributing to the channel, and you're part of the direction of Bite-Sized Magic. Especially big thanks to our Jumbo patrons, Candy Diabetes, Nick Ray, and Sharticus. You guys are awesome. If anyone is interested in joining the Patreon, you can check it out at the link below. Helps us support us just a little bit more, and you get a bunch of really cool perks, so go check that out.